Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to be talking about your assignment for writing project number 3. This will be one of our last videos. You'll just have one more about the final exam. But I want to go through and explain exactly what you need to do for this. So you've got these instructions in the folders on Blackboard, but let's go through and see what they say. So it says ChatGPT and related technologies are powerful tools that will change how we work. They are already powerful enough to perform many aspects of our jobs. For example, I could use ChatGPT both to create assignments for my classes as well as grade student work, right? I could tell it, write this kind of assignment. It could do that. It can grade things. In fact, I used to grade advanced placement exams. Those are exams that high school students take to get college credit. But those exams will soon be graded by AI. So that's a job I can't get anymore. AI can write usable computer code, create art, write movie scripts, diagnose diseases, and complete many other tasks that humans now complete. So even if AI doesn't completely eliminate jobs, it will definitely change the way in which knowledge workers, as opposed to physical laborers, work. So that's a term that we use, knowledge workers. It's usually people who work in front of computer screens. If we think about that, we think about them as being knowledge workers, again, as opposed to people who are doing physical work, working on, repairing streets or building houses or things like that. For project number 3, you'll need to explore in detail how you think such AI systems will change your immediate job prospects. For this assignment, you'll need to dig into this issue in detail by exploring what specifically you might be doing in a future job and what exactly AI systems such as ChatGPT can and can't do. So just think about what your job might be, what it is you're thinking about going into, and what might happen for that. And so I'm asking you on some level here to think about what you might do. You may not be sure, but just choose something. If you're not completely sure, choose something that you're considering. I mean, that's the idea that you're going to college and you're potentially thinking about some of these issues. So to be again, make some kind of guess about the kind of possibilities, the kinds of jobs you might be interested in. Some of you are very clear about what you're doing, but some of you, if you're not sure, you can just choose something. I'm not going to hold you to it. It's not like I'm going to say, you chose the wrong thing, you didn't go into it. So you can just guess at something that you are potentially interested in. This assignment will require to use outside sources as research. We should have put this in bold because this is a little different. You're going to have to use some outside sources. You must use at least 3 of the sources in the AI materials folder located in the course documents section of Blackboard. So in that section, all of the assignments that we've read are in there. So if you go to the course documents section of Blackboard, click on AI materials, all of the things that I had you read are in there, but there are some extra things in there as well. So you can look at those, and if any of those are important to you or they seem relevant to you, you can potentially use those. So you have to use at least 3 of the ones that you find in there, whatever those are, right? Again, the ones that I put on the schedule and asked you to read, or any of the other ones as well that I did not put on the schedule. So you can use those. However, these sources contain no specific information about what you are doing in your future job. So they may not necessarily, if you're going into nursing, they may not necessarily talk specifically about nursing. And so now you have to think about, well, wait a minute, I have to go find some other information specifically about nursing. Some of the background stuff about how AI works, about some of the different ways in which people are using it, those might be relevant. But if you want to talk specifically about nursing, then you're going to have to get your some of that information from somewhere else. So you're going to use all of those sources. You have to use at least 3 of those general sources that I've given you, but you're also going to have to find some other sources as well. And in order to find that kind of information, that outside specific information, you need to conduct your own research, either by looking at information from at least 2 of the following sources. So, professional organizations. So, any profession, any thing that you want to go into, if you want to go into accounting, if you want to go into nursing, if you want to go into engineering, whatever it is that you go into, there are professional organizations. There are people who get together and say, let's talk about what this job is. We have a professional organization for English teachers. We have a number of them. And so There are a number of places where I could go to for my professional organizations. I have the Chronicle. I have the Council for Two-Year Teachers of English. I have MLA. There are a lot of things dedicated to people who are going to be in my profession. And so if you're going into nursing, computer engineering, massage therapy, whatever it is that you happen to be going into, there is a professional organization. And I think it's important for you to recognize that those kinds of things exist and they are thinking about these issues, because that's what a professional organization does. It says, hey, we are concerned about what this the nature of this job, and so when things like AI come up, they all go, wait a minute, what is this going to do for our job, right? How are we going to be dealing with that? So we think about professional organizations, college and university websites, and so schools with majors often provide details about what students can expect if they enter a profession. So if you go to those websites, those are things that they're going to be thinking about. So anything from a college or a university. Job and career websites, because there are sites that help people get jobs and they talk about some of these kinds of issues, right? They have articles about that because people are interested. I'm going to try and get a job in accounting, and there might be articles in there about, hey, this is what the kind of things you need to be aware of now that AI exists and you're trying to get a job. This is how you need to think about your resume. This is how the job is potentially changed. That there are articles like that. Interviews with professors or those already in the profession. So if you have a nursing professor, if you're going to nursing, you have a nursing professor, you might ask your nursing professor, or you might ask an actual nurse. So you can interview professors who are specialists in the field. If you were, let's say, going into teaching English, most of you probably aren't, you could potentially ask me. I am both a professor of this and also in the profession. But again, if you're in computer engineering, you can ask either a professor of computer engineering or find somebody who is an actual computer engineer and ask them. So any of these sources that you can use, right? And at least two of those sources that you're going to need. So you need a total of 5 sources, right? Because you need 3 from the sources in the AI materials folder, and at least 2 of these following sources that come from professional organizations, college or university websites, job and career websites, or interviews with professors or those already in the profession. You can use ChatGPT as a source, how it does not count as one of the sources of the 2 above. So you can ask it some information and say, this is what ChatGPT said about that, but I don't want that to count as one of these. This essay must be at least 1,000 words long and follow MLA format. So that's the assignment there. And then if we look at the writing plan assignment, and so as usual, you have to have a writing plan, and it's the same. This first part is the same basic idea that we should be familiar with, because you should have already done writing plan. You state the thesis of your project, you state the topic sentence. You don't write the entire body paragraph, just state the topic sentence. I'm not going to go through this in detail because, again, you should have already done this twice before. Then list the third, which is a little bit slightly different, but you have been using sources. List the specific source or sources that you plan to use to support your topic sentence, right? Don't say anything about the sources, just list them, right? And repeat these steps over and over again until you have as many paragraphs as you need, right? And so if you look at a sample outline, I call it a writing plan here, but it means the same basic thing. I've got a thesis here. It's say, although AI systems such as ChatGPT will definitely create many challenges for writing professors. So this is my job that I might be going into, such as making sure that students actually create their own work. Professors will also be able to use these systems to help grade student work as well as help professors create clearly written assignments. However, one core aspect of teaching will remain unchanged, namely the personal connections professors make with their students to make sure that each individual is making as much progress as possible. So this is my thesis here, right? And I'm talking about notice I'm mentioning very specifically the kinds of issues that I might encounter with AI, right? Problems like making sure that students create their own work, right? That is definitely an issue. Are students going to be using AI to write their papers for them? So that's an issue that I'm going to deal with, right? But I can use the systems to help grade student work, right? I can use them to create clearly written assignments. Sorry, this is kind of messing up. Create clearly written assignments. And so those are challenges that I'm going to have to deal with. However, the thing that will remain unchanged is this kind of personal connections that I make with students to make sure that each individual is making as much progress as possible. things like talking on the phone to students. So that's my thesis here, right? And I noticed that in my thesis, I'm being very specific about the kinds of issues that are going to come up. And so you should be very specific about that. Don't just say there will be a lot of changes because of AI, right? Say very specifically, these are the kinds of changes. And then I go through and I just talk about them. So I say topic sentence, one of the major problems ChatGPT poses for writing professors is figuring out whether students are writing their assignments themselves or using ChatGPT. So this is the paragraph where I'm going to talk about students using ChatGPT to write their assignments. And my sources are going to be, will ChatGPT change how professors assess learning, right? That seems to be related to the issue, obviously. Assess learning, whether they're assess is grading, right? This comes from a thing called the Chronicle. The Chronicle is a publication dedicated to professors. Another one, a college student created app that can tell whether AI wrote an essay, right? You can see that's clearly related to the issue of grading. And then I'm using this source here for how does ChatGPT really work? That is one of the sources that I gave you, right? That's in that folder. I gave you this, how does ChatGPT really work? So I'm using that as well. I'm using that as one of my elements. So I found these two, but I'm also using one of these. Okay, and so it's important to use that, and it's important to use that to be able to understand, oh, okay, so that is, if you understand how ChatGPT really works, then we can understand how students might be using it to create their own essays. Second body paragraph. However, ChatGPT will also make writing professors' jobs easier by helping them with one of the most difficult aspects of the job, grading student work. I'm going to use that same article about how will it change how professors assess learning, because again, assessing learning is really grading. How ChatGPT can help with grading. It's obviously related to that issue. And then AI in the future of undergraduate writing, right? And so you can see that's related. Another way in which AI will make a professor's writing jobs easier is by helping them write clear assignments. I'm using how does ChatGPT really work, and 35 ways people are using AI right now. So again, those are two of the articles that I assign to you, right? Those are in the folder. And if we understand how they work and different ways people are using them, you can understand how I might be able to use them to help me write clear assignments. So again, see how I'm using some of those ones that I actually gave you to be able to support this. And then I say, however, ChatGPT won't change the most important aspects of teaching, which is professors making personal connections with their students. I've got an article that we did not read, but is still in the folder. AI can't write my cat story because it hasn't felt what I feel. And then the other, can a machine know that we know what it knows, which again is also an article that's in that folder that I didn't ask you to read. So you can see how I'm using a number of outside sources from professional organizations and people who are going to be professionals in that field talking about those issues. I'm also using the sources that I gave you, right? So I'm mixing those up. And again, I'm just telling you, again, just to keep in mind how this works, I'm just telling you this is my thesis, this is each of my body paragraphs, and these are the sources that I'm using. I'm not writing anything else about that. So I can just get a sense of what you're going to write about, how you plan to organize this, what you plan to do in each paragraph, and how you plan to use specific sources to support the ideas in that paragraph. So that's what we're looking at for outline number one. Again, same basic format as something we've done before. So go ahead and begin working on that, get that submitted, and I'll get those marked, and we'll be moving on with our final project of the semester.